Thank you so much for watching. We're back with part 2 of our interview with Randy Hayden, school director in Snohomish County, and we're going to be talking to him a little bit more about his experience with at WSSDA, the Washington State School Directors Association, and just a great story about what it means to show up. If you haven't seen the first part of this video, I encourage you to go back and look at that, but we will jump right in here. Randy, thank you so much for sharing your time and coming in and let me do this interview with you. I think it's really important for all of our listeners. I'm always talking to them about the importance of showing up and how you can make an impact if you do, how I can guarantee you won't make an impact if you don't show up. So it doesn't mean you're always going to win, but at least it gets you in there in the fight. And I will love this whole story that we kind of alluded to in the previous interview, but just getting into what it was like as you got on the School Director Association. So you're the representative from your school board to the School Director Association, and you saw the impact that just a handful of big urban school districts had, overruling the interests of the hundreds of other school districts that exist in the state, and explain that process and what you were able to do with WSSDA as a local school board member.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Glenn. Yeah, what you're referring to was the weighted vote, and the experience I had at my first general conference, were as the legislative reps for every school district are supposed to be there to vote on positions. We had, I believe it was 145 positions to vote on.
Yeah.
And most of this is really, no-brainer stuff.
Right.
And some of it's retiring positions that are irrelevant now because things change with time. But we had 15 different positions that passed.
That you probably would support, right?
That you definitely support. So one of them was a position that would allow you to have a gun on school property. Okay. Now this wouldn't be, everyone's going to be bringing guns. This would allow a certified person, a teacher, principal, staff, whatever, to have a gun on property. And we had a lot of people, testifying in favor of this. And I was one. My school district, worst case scenario, we have one deputy who's kind of in our area. But if he's on call, if there's an emergency somewhere else in Snohomish County, it could be 45 minutes in an emergency to get a deputy. And there's a lot of rural school districts in the same deal, in the same shoes. So it was just a simple, and this passed.
Yeah, and so the majority of the school board members that were there representing school districts, they said, hey, we want to have somebody here who's been trained and approved that would have the ability to defend the students and this faculty,
It just allows a certified, it doesn't open the door
to anybody,
let anyone can walk in. And it passed 54%.
Okay.
They called a weighted vote. It's like, what? Weighted vote? So as it turns out, WSSDA has a weighted vote, 295 school districts with a weighted vote. The 16 largest school districts in the state could control the outcome of a vote. A weighted vote is where they get votes weighted on the amount of kids in their school district. So my school district, gets one vote. The majority of the school districts, they put them into there's two classes. There's and I forget the name for the classes, but my class, I wish I could. I'm drawing a blank, but it's kind of a derogatory term.
Right. So you're the second class school district.
Yeah, exactly.
Only these top big Seattle urban districts get the first class treatment, and the rest of the school districts get.
So 15 times they called for a weighted vote. 14 times it overturned. The only one it didn't overturn, it's because we pushed back so hard and belittled the school districts, was on a position that basically stated, we believe that parents are major stakeholders in their child's education. How horrible is that?
Even Seattle had a hard time overcoming that.
And after much debate, and they called the weighted vote, but it did pass
Okay.
because they felt embarrassed
To pretend like they aren't. Yeah.
to not pass it. So we came out of that and we're scratching our head.
So you learned your lesson here in 2022. You
Yes,
see it
2022,
firsthand.
weighted vote, what's going on?
Yep.
So we had a director who did some research, and so this is in the bylaws. We found out that a bylaws amendment can change this.
Okay.
That we need to write a resolution. It has to be passed in at least 5 school districts.
That's right. Yep.
Now what I alluded to before was this group that I took over with school directors, which we have now grown to a fairly big, powerful group. So
which is like a caucus. It's just
yes,
it's a number of like-minded school directors.
Yes,
that
we kind of
share
call
the same
it the
concerns. Yeah.
conservative caucus for lack of another term,
Sure.
because they tend to be conservative type people that are in it. But
They believe math is real.
yes, they believe math is real.
They might be able to define what a woman is.
They
They actually think math. So they actually think maybe learning how to be literate is probably a high priority.
a
in
higher
school.
priority, and,
Okay,
and
yeah.
not some of the
Rigor
other
is
nonsense.
okay in this curriculum. You know.
So like I said, 5 school districts had to pass this resolution.
Sure.
We had it passed in over 20 school districts, which then made it something that we were going to be voting on.
So that puts it on the agenda.
It
Essentially.
puts it on the agenda, then
Yep.
it goes to the committees. Okay, WSSDA has committees.
Yep.
And it went to the resolution committee, and it came out of there, and this was very important, as a do pass.
Yes, the
Which
committee recommends.
which kind of shocked us. It was an 8-7 vote.
Yeah.
But it came out as a do pass, this bylaws amendment. Then our next big push, we had 221 school districts. You know, why aren't they showing up?
Right.
So I worked with a couple outside groups. We put together a list of school directors from schools that had been MIA, had
Right.
not been present,
Right.
and we pushed hard. So the next 2023 General Assembly, we had, I think it was 154 school districts.
Okay, so better turnout.
Which, better turnout,
Yeah.
still a pathetic turnout
Sure.
in my books. Just
at least getting
barely half.
Yeah.
But it was better.
And by the way, Randy, when I was on the school board, I had the same experience in WSSDA. Very small percentage of schools. So it's good to. That was actually a big turnout to get that many there.
It's embarrassing because
It is, but
these
yeah.
are elected officials. This
Yeah.
is their job. You know, when we were electing committee members
Yep.
and the State Board of Education, just barely 20% of these elected school board members
Yeah.
took the time to vote.
Right.
So
Right.
it's kind of a head scratcher.
Right.
So we got this on the agenda. Like I said, I worked with a couple outside groups. We made calls. We really pushed hard to get the attendance up. We got it to 154. Came,
Sure.
not came because there were some of us in person, a lot of us Zooming.
Right. They let
So
Zoom meetings.
They
now.
let Zoom
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah.
So I was in person, which was priceless.
Yeah. I was in the pre-Zoom era, but so I'm really glad to hear that.
As far as what went on,
Yeah.
So the meeting started Friday morning at 9. The bylaws amendment was the first thing on the agenda, number 1, okay?
Yeah.
It takes 2/3 to pass a bylaws amendment, so it was a big deal.
Right.
So the liberal school districts did everything they could. I mean, they tried to pass motions to move it to the end of the meeting.
Right.
I mean, it went on, you name it, debated every motion,
Right.
spent, half an hour in debate before we tabled it, and it was just Robert's Rules of Order on steroids.
Which is really a good experience. So you had some of that experience.
Well, yeah.
Came in handy here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, like I said, I've been involved in a lot of high stakes meetings along this line, and this one was the most intense.
Okay.
As far as the back and forth. In fact, there was a school board member at our table, a younger guy, I'd say in his 30s,
Yeah.
with one of those watches that tell you what your health is.
Right.
And so we didn't vote on this till 2:30.
So how many hours total on that?
Well, we
process?
started at 9.
Yeah, okay.
So, and it was about 2 o'clock. His watch started beeping and telling him he was in crisis mode. It was so intense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so bottom line is 2:30. It finally came to a vote.
Okay.
And it passed with 74%.
Wow, which is more than you needed, and that means that eliminated weighted voting.
Weighted vote is gone.
Yeah, which is a huge deal.
Well, it was really big. I talked with Jim Walsh, and he's like, "Oh, this is big. We need to do a press release." And I'm
Right.
like, "No, we don't." You know, that was in September.
Right.
We had some critical school board people that I was working with to get elected.
Right.
That were, going to be voted on in 6 weeks. It's
Right.
like, do we really want to?
But you just wanted to get good
poke the
people
hornet's
in,
nest.
get good people in to
Exactly.
start making the difference. So, and so then your next WSSDA conference, now without weighted voting,
Yes.
how much difference did you see there?
Well, there was difference, but not like I was expecting, because a lot of the voting went on per committee recommendations.
Sure.
So now what we're seeing is, we've got to push in our group to get good school board directors elected to the different committees in WSSDA.
Sure.
So we've got that going. I'm also working on getting good school directors elected around the state.
Right.
I've been working with Jim Walsh, and my hope is to work with every county chair of the Republican Party for them to get someone in charge of school board races in their county.
Yeah, I
so
mean-
that we can vet good.
You just want good candidates in there. I mean, I find, it's not a partisan race, right? So they're all nonpartisan seats, but it's definitely an ideological difference that I saw when I was on the school board. And when I would see people, it really didn't matter so much party affiliation, but it did matter a lot on how they viewed money, how they viewed the money being spent in the district, how they viewed curriculum in particular. Supporting teachers for discipline in the classroom. I mean, there's all kinds of different things. There's a lot of things, you're right, when you're on the school board, you're voting on that there's really not that much controversy. There shouldn't be that much controversy on the calendar, right? There's probably not that much controversy in a lot of basic contracts that you have. But boy, on some of those key things, having good people in there who are going to view the system, the opportunities for the children a lot differently, that's where I saw the big difference. And what I really like about the story, Randy, about this, because the impact of the weighted voting, I experienced that when I was at WSSDA too. And it was very disappointing to the conservative school board members who would go there and we'd propose policies and then just have them defeated when they would get up finally to the General Assembly because it's weighted voting. And that transition from what I was experiencing back then to what you're experiencing now, eliminating that primary obstacle to good, common sense, merit-based, just math is real sort of policies coming through, that's a big deal. And I don't want to, you can't really water that down. I mean, that's a huge opportunity now moving forward. And so I really appreciate this whole story. I mean, I think right in the middle when this was going on, I remember I had all these different school board members texting me, and they were excited about it, right? All this is happening. So this is a win.
Things were blowing up.
Sure, but this is a win. This is a win for rational approaches. And I know there's a lot of people that just want to give up. They want to surrender. They don't even want to get involved. Or they think, oh, I'm homeschooling my kids, or my kids are in private school. Why do I care? But your tax dollars are going to this. And even if your kids aren't in public school, you still want the children who are being educated in your community to have the best education you can give them. And so I really like this story, Randy. I really appreciate you coming here to tell us this too, because I think people hearing about this and understanding the significance of it, I think that's really important. If you had a final thing that you would close with telling people and encouraging them to get involved and how they can make a difference, what would you say to people who are just starting to maybe wake up or think, maybe I can make a difference? What would you tell them?
Well, I think you need to get involved.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm pushing to get good, school directors elected. Now, I'm not talking, this isn't a right wing or left wing thing,
Right.
because there's a certain type of person that makes a good director, and they don't have to be far right. They need to be conservative. They need to put the kids' interests first, the parents' interests first, but also the teachers. You know, a lot of people have crucified the teachers, and the teachers, you know, are only doing what they're told. They're limited. You know, we see. I believe it's 40% of teachers quit in their first 3 years.
Sure.
Teachers love the kids. They got involved because they love the kids.
Right.
And then they get hired as a teacher and they can't do what they want to do.
Sure.
They're being pushed to do this stuff. And we're seeing a lot of the problems we see in school are because the teachers can't do what they want. The teachers are depressed.
Yeah, and when you say what they want,
depression starts up here,
Right.
and kids are like a little sponge. When this depression starts up here, and I truly believe we right now we're seeing lots of bullying in schools, and I think it starts up here, and it's not, you know, it's the teachers are depressed. They're not able to do. They're not getting the results they want.
Sure.
The kids. So it's a revolving door that at this point isn't getting better, and it's because of a lot of the stuff that is being passed at Olympia that are
It definitely is.
that are
Yeah.
blocking
Right.
teachers from what they really want to do, and that's love on the kids and teach them.
Yeah, and get them to learn something. I mean, I know as my wife's an 8th grade school teacher, right? So I'm familiar with this, just the legislation they passed in Olympia and how it trickles almost immediately in a harmful and destructive way in the classroom, destroying the ability to have, effective education, destroying all merit, essentially, really doing a good job destroying it. The legislature is excellent at doing that. And it's very hard to build up, to the point where you're doing a good job with you're getting the results you need, and it's easy to tear down. And the legislature does seem to genuinely go into this tear down mode more than anything else. But you can be a bulwark against that in your local school district if you're a good school board member. So
and yeah, but there's 5 there.
Right.
So it takes
You got
3 good
at least
ones.
3 good ones. That's right. That's right.
And we've seen though where one, and I won't name the district, where we
Right.
saw a good school director get elected
Right.
and led the way to 2 others, and
Right.
they've made some really big changes in their school district.
And I've seen that happen before. It's an amazing thing to watch and observe. Doesn't happen instantly, but you can definitely do it over time. So Randy, thank you so much for coming in the studio with me today. I know this is the second part of the interview. I really appreciate you taking the time. This just makes a big difference. And to my viewers out there, I oftentimes talk about the importance of showing up and how critical it is, if you care about making a difference where you live, to show up and just start. It starts there. Running for office like Randy did, like hundreds and thousands of other people. We have over 8,000 elected positions in this state, and a large number of those are school district positions. It's a great way to get started if you care about public education, you want to make a difference. And victories can be found, especially if you find other like-minded people who are willing to do that. So I hope that this interview would encourage you to get more involved and more engaged. If you don't think you're school board director quality, that's fine, or that's not something you want to do, find somebody in your community who is. Go and interview your current school board member and see if they're actually trying to do the right thing currently in their job. And I think there's a lot of opportunity out there for it. Again, I always say the future belongs to those who show up. Randy showed up and he's making an impact in the future. So have many other people around the state of Washington. So hopefully if I could just close this video, it's a part 2. So if you didn't watch part 1, please go back and do that. But close this video just with the encouragement that if you want to make a difference, please just start to engage now, start to do your research, start to attend those school board meetings, start paying attention to what's going on. Maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised. I wish that would happen more often, but more than likely you're going to find there's some work that needs to be done. Getting educated about it is a good and critical first step. So thank you so much for watching today. I really encourage you, again, do your research. We got a lot of work to do out there. And I always close this, the future does absolutely belong to those who show up. Thank you.
Now, and you will put my contact in the window, right?
And I will, yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.